everyone a very happy New Year. If you celebrated the Vikram 7th for the New Year, and I wish once again for those who were not able to join us this last week, I want to wish all of you a very happy Diwali, a little belated one, but here we are. Thank you and welcome to the Vikram 7th New Year. Utsada, I want to introduce you. So first, I'll start with myself. I'm Ajay Shah. I am the Executive Vice President of World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA. And we have with me Utsav Chakravarti. Utsada is the Executive Director for Hindu Pact and HinduLounge, which is our weekly American Hindu current affairs, current issues show, is brought to you every week at 11 o'clock Eastern, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and is hosted by Utsav Chakravarti and me. And Utsada, I want to give you an opportunity to welcome everyone. And after you do that, I want to talk about a special show that we have today with some really special people. So please go ahead and say your opening remarks, and then we'll dive right into it. I'm leaving the topic as a teaser a little bit so that people will just people will hang on just a little bit before I go into the topics. Go for it, Utsada.
Namaste, everybody, and thank you, Ajay Bhai, for the 30th episode of Hindu Lounge, and it's been a journey. And this is been amazing to hang out and discuss issues and events and topics that are relevant to the American Hindu community. And I look forward to today's show. And Ajay Bhai, slowly, I guess you will reveal who what our event is all going to be all about. So
No, this is a really, hey, where is our special guest today?
Our special guest is slowly walking in. She has the perfect timing. So let me bring her over.
Yeah, bring the special guest, because whenever she comes, a lot of people tune in. And I must say that she was up at 1 o'clock in the morning doing the show prep, because she couldn't sleep because she had to do the show prep, right?
Correct. She has a odd schedule, and thanks to her parents.
And I think she has a very interesting schedule, and because she is in tune with us. Hey, so that today's show is really special. The reason it is special is because there is a meeting going on for World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA. So VHPA America has a governing council meeting going on today. And in this governing council meeting, I requested that people from the governing council call in and express the issues that are of importance to Hindus in America and discuss these issues with us. So that is, so we will seed the conversation by bringing up a couple of issues that we have come across this week, and then we'll request the people who are part of the governing council to dial in to the show. And I'm going to shortly, in a couple of minutes, as soon as we introduce the topic, we are going to post on all the chat forums that we have. We're going to post the dial-in information, and I would request the people who are part of the VHPA Governing Council to just dial into the show with the camera on, without the camera on, their preference, and just join the show and share their views. We'll do that for first 30 minutes of the show or so. And then for the next 10 minutes, we are going to have the General Secretary of World Hindu Council of America, Sanjay Mehta, join us for about 10 minutes, and he'll share some of his views. And after that, we will have Dr. Abhaya Asthana, who is the President of World Hindu Council of America, join us and share some of his views with us. So we have never had guests in our show except when we do panels. And so this is really the first time that we actually have guests in the show, and we could not have two better people than Sanjay Mehta and Abhaya Asthana ji joining us. So
until then, Maya Durga Chakravarti, our co-host.
She's a co-host. She's not a guest. She is part of the show.
She's co-host, and she will carry on the conversation.
That's right.
Maya Durga, it's up to
namaste,
you now.
Right? So
Maya Durga, namaskar karo. Namaskar.
Yeah,
she does it. Namaste.
She does a great job. So that today's topic. So let me share my screen. This is a really interesting topic, and I think this is very important topic, because this is something that was part of the discussion that we had in the governing council as to look what is happening in the landscape that we call American Hindus, and American Hindu communities. What is going on? And we, as you know, so that we've been, last year, this USCIRF, which is a quasi-governmental body, appointed by various politicians, the president and the speaker of the house. They appoint this to monitor the religious freedom across the world and prepare a report and present the report to the Congress and things like that, right?
Mhm.
And this body is, in the new year, it's not, they released a very Hinduphobic report, very India-phobic report, but really we are not talking about India here. They're using that as a tool. They call India the country of particular concern, which is like grave human rights violation, for grave violation of religious freedom and all of that. And they really they are doing is they want to pin uh, that false narrative about India. They want to pin it on the Hindus in America. And they want Hindus in America to be named and shamed, and Hindus in America to give up their identity. That is the end game. And if you look at what they are doing now, this is not even a new year yet. And as you can see, Utsoda, uh, they already had the one of the organizations that is involved in this is Indian American Muslim Council. And Indian American Muslim Council last week did the first webinar, and they uh, and in that webinar they started discussing next year's 2021's country of special concern, country of particular concern designation for India. And again, with the goal to really name and shame the Hindus in America, and for Hindus in America to lose their identity. Who was their chief guest? Their chief guest, if you can see my screen, Utsoda, is a Hindu appointed by the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, as a Hindu representative, Arunima Bhargava. Now, we should remind everyone who is watching the show that Arunima Bhargava was the person who actually voted against India, against Hindus. Being a Hindu, she voted against Hindus, and she is supposed to be representing Hindus. And she is one of the commissioners. And IAMC, Indian American Muslim Council, invites Arunima Bhargava to gain credibility. They invite her to be the chief guest. And that is how that is the way they're building a narrative that, look, even Hindus in America, how can we be anti-Hindu? Look, here is the Hindu representative in USCIRF, who is our chief guest. So what's your response?
Well, my response is that this is something that we have been concerned about for a while. Many geopolitical issues are brought up in Washington, D.C., because that's where all these games are played. But what is happening here is a concerted effort, a really concerted, well-funded, well-thought-out effort by a coalition of fault line fishers. I call these guys fault line fishers because their job is to explain and explore the fault lines amongst the communities they are targeting, and use whatever works for them the best for their own benefit. So in this case, what you see here is a concerted effort being made to de-Hinduize and de-platform Hindus by a coalition of Islamists and Christians using whatever fault lines they can find in a 1 billion strong community. And the fact that Arunima was made the chief guest shows that it is being done using quislings and Uncle Toms in our community because that works for them. And I just want people to notice the names, the middle three names are the drivers of this effort. They are the one who bring the money and the agenda to the forum. The top name and the bottom name are the ones who legitimize the event, because you cannot run an event without getting it legitimized, because then it doesn't get any coverage. So these are the issues that we have to think about, and this needs more discussion. I want everybody who is looking at this to dig up more information about the participants and
Well,
especially the middle
tell me
three.
about the, tell me a little bit. You said so I put up the screen again. Tell me a little bit about the top name and the bottom name. Skip the bottom name, Roja Singh. We'll come to that a little later. Tell me about the top name. Why is the top name giving them the, respectability that they are looking for? And also while you're at it, tell us a little bit more about Arunima Bhargava.
So you see, Arunima Bhargava is just an useful idiot. Sorry to use, it's a phrase that was very popular during the Cold War, a phrase that many people believe Lenin had used to explain the liberal left in American universities as tools of the Soviet Union. So I'm not saying she's an idiot. It's useful idiot is a phrase that works to explain the way many times willingly center left, extreme left gets used by geopolitical forces globally. So Arunima is a useful idiot for the middle three with his Matthias Parthula of the International Christian Concern and Salam Al Marayati from the Muslim Public Affairs Council, and Arjun Sethi, who is a Georgetown professor, very well funded by Qatar, the government of Qatar, and uh, and these three are running this agenda of declaring delegitimizing Hindus by declaring India as a CPC. And Joanne Lynn is the national director of advocacy for Amnesty International, and Amnesty International has been discredited over the last 15 years in many places in the world, and primarily because of the way they become useful idiots for whoever gives them money. I mean, it is as sometimes as simple as that. And whoever pays for them and whoever sponsors them and gives long-term project money for them. So what Joanne Lynn is doing here is she's putting the name of Amnesty International as an organization that is legitimizing this agenda of designating India as a country of particular concern. And the fact that it is a recognized human rights organization globally gives credence to this particular event. Otherwise, somebody from a Christian right-wing group, somebody from a Muslim right-wing group, and somebody like Arjun Sethi who works for a foreign government through funding in a well-known university in DC, nobody would take them seriously because their agendas would be exposed. Similarly, Roja Singh, anytime there is a Hindu issue, the best fault line that anybody goes to, the most commonly used fault line that anybody goes to is the jati, quote unquote, caste. And anytime there is an agenda driven event, they will include somebody in that.
So we are just coming to it. So I have a let me since you already brought it up. So before I go to that slide where you talk about Roja Singh, sorry to interrupt. I would like people who are watching this to please dial in, participate in the conversation. This is this is a show where it is not meant to be a unidirectional show. It is a show where we welcome you to join us, and participate in the conversation, express your views, and debate with us. Really, I mean, we are open to you disagreeing with us as well. We are not only looking for agreement. So please join us. So that as people dial in, and I'm hoping that everyone does, let's go to the thing that you were talking about. So this is the information we dug up on Roja Singh, right? She is a professor at St. John's Fisher College, and look at her areas of study. So she specializes in really uh, sitting in America. She's studying fault lines in Hindu Dharma, and then so that is her day job, and her night job is to use her study and figure out how to bash Hindus in America using that, right?
So this is a pattern, Ajay Bhai, and this is a pattern that is not new. It has been going on for the last, I would say, 20 years, 25 years. It's been a well-developed pattern. What is new is the intensity and the aggressiveness with which it is being pursued. Also, what is new is how this pattern is being legitimized by mainstream right-wing groups within Christianity and Islam. So basically, if you look at this diagram, the Christian right wing and the Islamic right wing hate each other globally, and they will put each other's tails on fire. But when it comes to Hindu community, whether it is in the Indian subcontinent and by extension here, they see a target, they see a deplatforming, a delegitimizing historically subaltern religious community that they can gobble up and destroy, because both are exclusivist mindsets, and they will target Hindus wherever they can. So the so-called quote unquote Dalit agenda driven people and the left, again I'm putting them in air quotes because they don't really serve the causes they claim to represent. Some of them aren't even Dalit, most of them are not. These agenda driven people work as a bridge between the Christian right and the Islamic right. And if you, Ajay bhai, if you go back to the poster that originally where Arunima Bhargava's picture is, the poster we had, if you show that poster, you will see that this particular event is basically just that. It's an event where the Christian right and the Muslim right and their proxies are bringing in the softer, fault line drivers and legitimizers to the table to basically do a Hindu bashing event and by extension target India. I mean, they go hand in hand because India is the only country left for the Hindus with the Hindu majority. So whenever you want to delegitimize Hindus globally, you have to target India as well, and vice versa. So the fact that we are discussing this and the fact that people like Arunima Bhargava are part of this is a great cause for concern, because somebody told me 2 months ago or 6 months ago that, oh, Arunima is a kid we grew up with, somebody amongst the popular Hindu community leadership in America. So that is something that we need to discuss and worry about.
Really, so the thing that we need to discuss, and I wish and we can ask this, we will ask this question to Abhaya ji and Sanjay bhai when they join us for the exclusive interview. But I think other members of the VHP Governing Council can also call and express their view as to how is it that uh, a, a Hindu kid who was born and brought up in US, who is surrounded by Hindu friends and family, how does that person turn 180 degrees and then basically become so anti-Hindu that she's now a featured speaker in the Indian American Muslim Council sponsored event, uh, where the singular topic is Hindu bashing. And I think that transition is worth studying for people who are active in Hindu community, because there are lessons to be learned here. I don't think that we are going to have Arunima Bhargava change her mind, even though we know that she is now hanging around with people who have extremist tendencies and radical tendencies. And but I would say that it's going to be a really difficult task. She'll probably dig in and not admit to her mistake. And but I think there is a lesson to be
Ajay bhai,
learned.
you again, you have you just mentioned something, which is admit to her mistake. I think you have to understand that Hindus are the victims here. Hindus are the subalterns here. The media and the messaging out there is targeting the Hindu American community, and I don't think there is I don't think Arunima actually believes that she's making a mistake. I think she genuinely believes that she is doing something great for the cause of quote unquote humanity. The fact that she is not able to see this ganging up of Islamic right and the Christian right, and the fact that I'm pretty sure she's a smart individual, and I'm pretty sure people like her out there are very smart individuals. The fact that they don't see it actually points to a bigger failing on our side in terms of sending our message out about who we are. And I think that should be the bigger. I don't
Hey,
think
but
Arunima really cares if we tell her that she's making a mistake.
oh
I
yeah,
don't think she cares.
yeah. Arunima is a lost cause from my
No,
perspective.
no, it's
At
not a
least for
lost
now. At
cause.
least for now. At least
Yeah,
for
right,
now.
right.
At least for now. But Utsada, there's one thing that a lot of Hindus, probably not you and me, but a lot of Hindus will take heart in that, hey, look, we brought the Islamic radicals and fundamentalist Christians together. What do you think about that, huh?
Well, see, as I
I'm
said,
sure a lot of people will be really, a lot of Hindus will be really happy about that.
well, as I said in the beginning of this conversation, this is a pattern that is increasingly visible for the last 20 years or so. It has been especially visible in the last 7 or 8 years, when the Hindu community globally and in India, I would say, because Indian politics moved in a direction where Hindus started asserting themselves. Hindus started recognizing that for 1.5 billion of them, there is only one country left as safe space, which is India, and they started asserting themselves in their Hindu identity. A small step in a long history of colonization.
So
Uh,
that was just meant to be a humorous thing. You take
okay.
everything seriously,
No,
but
I was hoping that you wanted me to explain to my
no,
audience
I was
uh,
just saying that
what's going
we
on.
should.
But if you
What?
don't, that's fine too.
No, no,
Go
no.
ahead, please.
What I'm saying is that there are a lot of Hindus out there in America and around the world whose perspective on this is so different than ours that they would actually take pride in the fact that, look, we brought fundamentalist Christians and radical Islamists together on a single platform. Hindus are playing their role in uniting the world. What this is another another contribution of Hindus to America and Hindus to the humanity. So
Well, it is easy to do that when when you have a crosshair painted on your forehead.
okay. So that did
I
you?
don't. I don't think it was. I don't think you should be joking about this. That's
Oh,
my
come on,
statement.
it's so that you're way too serious. Come on, this is a lounge, okay? This is not like a classroom, okay? So you got to have some humor here. Come on. But hey, I want to point out one more thing. I don't know if you noticed. I did if anyone noticed this. Do you see this little circle that I drew? When we talked about we're talking yesterday. Look who is the other co-sponsor. So, by the way, for people who want to look it up, we did an entire show on Amnesty International. We did a show on USCIRF, and we did a show on people who wear the saffron garb but are rabidly anti-Hindu, right? So then look at this. Who's the other Hindu hater, Hindu phobe in this? In the fine print here, the co-sponsor is Hindus for Human Rights. Now, who is Hindus for Human Rights? The founder is Sunita Vishwanathan. And what does the Sunita Vishwanathan do? She founded Sadhana. What did Sadhana do? Sadhana did Holi against Hindutva. But that's not all. Sadhana goes around campus to campus to campus and tries to convince all the Hindu kids that they are the true Hindu organization, but they are as anti-Hindu as they come. Hindus for Human Rights, we did a show on them. We actually designated them once as Hindu Hater of the Week. And we went to their website and we picked about 20 of their press releases, and every single one of them was aimed at Hindus, against Hindus. I think they have issued one press release which is speaking about Hindu killings in Afghanistan or something, but I think 25 so since our show, right? So about out of 25, maybe they have one that expresses some concerns for Hindus. So this is a group that is in Hindu garbs and is rabidly anti-Hindu, and day in and day out, all they do really is express, express anti-Hindu views. So that the reason I bring this up, and we have to wrap this part up in about 2 minutes because then we can invite the guest for today. But I think as Hindus in America, recognizing this threat of all these people kind of banding together, I think I think we need to pay attention to that. What do you think?
I think that's what I have been talking about it for a while, and I think we have discussed this a long time ago. And you know, sadhana is sadhana, and by extension, Hindus for Human Rights. They're props. These are props designed to create legitimate voices from the Islamist side against Hindus using the Hindu name. And you will always find collaborators like Sunita Vishwanathan. And gladly, I'm very happy that despite all the money that's pouring in, despite all the prominence that's being given to them using the mainstream media platform, they don't have support. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Hey, so there was a question that came on the chat, and the question, Sudha, is that okay? So we see all this. What should be the response of World Hindu Council of America uh, to such things?
Sorry, I had just muted myself. So
Oh,
my response to the question would be that
what should we actually do, action-wise?
correct. So my response is that first identify the problem, and you cannot have a knee-jerk reaction, because the people who are doing this are professionals. They have millions of dollars pouring into this. They have people who are doing this full time, obviously with proper funding, and they have a well-designed agenda and a strategy and tactics behind it. So it's a professional effort. They have done this in other places in the world. What you have to understand as World Hindu Council of America is that first identify what you are up against, identify the reason why it is happening, which is why we are here, we're having this conversation. And then the more important part is put resources to counter it. You can sit all day on our we can sit all day on our show and discuss this, but if you do not put resources and professional effort to counter this, and when I say counter this, not just counter this by exposing what is happening here, that is the end product, but counter this at a very fundamental level and educate people and let people see the bigger picture with facts. It doesn't happen if you do not put resources and professionals into doing it. That's what you're up against. So, to put it more bluntly, and I'm pretty many people might disagree with me here. Find your own George Soros. Okay, let's do that.
Right. Hey, with Sutsada, with that, I want to thank everyone from the Governing Council who dialed in and posted the questions on the chat. I wish a lot of people had called in, but people are being a little shy here. So they posted the questions on the chat, and we responded to that. And with that, I know that they have a very tight schedule and they have to move on to other items on their agenda. So I want to so that let me just stop sharing, and I want to just express our thanks for really in some ways sponsoring this initiative, the Hindu Pact initiative. And we have been, there's nothing but support, and I express nothing but my gratitude for the people who are part of the World Hindu Council of America Governing Council in supporting us. And I think it means a lot to us. Their emails, their WhatsApp messages, their text messages, and their words of encouragement to what we are doing. It really means a lot. So I want to really thank the Governing Council and the leadership of World Hindu Council of America and all the support that they have given to us. I think we are, what we are doing is really just talking about the issue, but the real work actually happens in the communities, in the chapters, in various programs that we have at the grassroots, and we just have a forum to talk about a lot of these things. So I want to really express my gratitude for people who are doing this real work and not be part of just a chattering class like Utsoda and I are. So, Utsoda, any last thoughts before the Governing Council gets to the other parts of the agenda? And we welcome Sanjay Bhai Mehta here.
No, I'm looking forward to talking to Sanjay Bhai and our friends.
Great. So, Utsoda, before Sanjay Bhai comes, uh, let me do a quick introduction to Sanjay Bhai. Sanjay Bhai is the General Secretary of World Hindu Council of America, and uh, so just a second, Utsada, why don't you chat and I'll get Sanjay Bhai on board.
Absolutely. So I don't know what to say, Ajay Bhai, but this kind of events we have to keep doing so that whoever out there is listening to us gets to know about a bigger picture, and it gets a better understanding of the threat perceptions that we have and we are facing as a community. So as we wait here for Sanjay Mehta ji, who is the VHPA General Secretary and President now, we look forward to having a wonderful discussion with Sanjay Mehta ji.
So the Sanjay Bhai is still joining. So I know, why don't we do something else? So that why don't we talk about, and I will give you the control of this slide. And while Sanjay Bhai joins, why don't we utilize this time to do our favorite segment? And our favorite segment, as you know, is the Hinduphobe of the week. And I think, why don't we do Hinduphobe of the week while we wait for Sanjay Bhai to join? So I have shared, I've given the control to you, and why don't you take it over and talk about the Hinduphobe of the week?
Okay, Ajay bhai. Let me take that and.
I will put it up. Okay, if you want, I can share the screen.
No,
So,
no, okay, please do.
yeah, I can see that. So let's just talk about that. And while we wait for Sanjay Bhai to join, so please talk about this.
Ajay bhai, I don't think you shared your screen.
I have not shared the screen. I am a little bit behind on my production abilities today. So here we go. The screen is shared, and please talk about this.
Okay. So, I mean, this is an event that happened in the beginning of November, but I think this is something that we have not been able to discuss and share much in the last 2 weeks because of all the events we were doing. So I think it is more like Hinduphobe of the month, and to be honest, this is also Hinduphobe of the decade, probably the larger picture that we are facing in Bangladesh. So this is an event that happened in Kumilla, a town called Muradnagar, where based on some Facebook post, some individual wrote in some part of the world, Hindu houses and offices owned by Hindu community, businesses owned by Hindu community were burnt down by the Muslim community in Bangladesh. So it was a really sad set of events. Excuse me 1 minute. I have my daughter trying to climb up here. So she wants to be part of every conversation, so I cannot put her down.
So why don't you take care of that while Sanjay Bhai has joined? So let me get Sanjay Bhai in, and we'll continue the conversation here. Or you want to finish this?
So I wanted to finish this.
Yeah, go ahead and finish it. Yeah.
So the what happened in Muradnagar is that it's a pattern in the country of Bangladesh, where Hindus used to be majority 120 years ago, are now barely 10% of the population. There's a well-designed, aggressive effort by not as much by the government at this point, but by the community, the Islamic community and their organizations, to target Hindus, kill them, convert them, delegitimize them, deplatform them, so that they are forced to escape and leave to India as refugees. And that's been going on for the last 100 years very aggressively, especially in the last 60, 70 years, since Bangladesh became a country. It became East Pakistan first and then Bangladesh, but a separate entity from India. So I think that is all I wanted to say for the Hinduphobe of the week for this week.
So what is happening in Bangladesh is really, really sad. I mean, there are a lot of parts of Bangladesh, and you know Bangladesh much more closely than I ever would. But the parts of Bangladesh which are purely Hindu majority, and I've seen the projections that say that in 30 years, Bangladesh will be where Pakistan is today, where Hindus are
not even 30 years. Not even 30 years. I would give it 20 years at most from now on.
And then Hindus will be insignificant minority, and that I think it's about time that the global Hindu community adopts this as an important cause.
I would actually, it's a good point I wanted to make, good point you brought up. I would actually hope that all these, Arunima Bhargavas we were discussing and the Hindus for human rights of the world that we are discussing, they are nowhere to be seen on this genocide.
So, yeah, but that's because they would,
Yeah. So
You know,
that
that's against
actually exposes who they work for.
you know, that's against their dharma. So don't expect them to
Don't
do
use
that.
the word dharma to explain this.
Oh, come on. You can use any word you want. You know, it's like you have to understand. It is their dharma is to attack Hindu dharma. It is like a snake's dharma is to bite, and so you don't expect Hindus for human rights to stand up for against the atrocity when there is atrocities against Hindus. So if you expect that, then you're expecting too much. But let's pause there. We have Sanjay Bhai here. So Sanjay Bhai, namaste and welcome to Hindu Lounge. You are officially our first guest in 30 weeks. So
That's good. It's my pleasure.
it's our honor to have you online. I mean, you know, we always had callers, we always had panels, but we never had a guest that we interviewed. So and you are the first one to be online. So we are really honored to have you online. And you know, I found out a few months ago, and Utsavda reinforced yesterday that you and Utsavda went to the same college. So
Yeah, that's
I
correct. Yeah.
so I think there's something special about that college, some special water or whatever it is. So I told Utsoda that you know, find that, because that college seems to be really really good. So I told Utsoda that find the hardest questions you can, because anyone who goes to that college is well trained to answer them. So
Okay, good. Good. Utsav knows that. You can
Well,
hear me clearly,
yeah,
right?
yeah, we can
Okay,
hear
good.
you.
yeah,
We
we
can
can
hear
hear
That's
you,
you.
good.
Ajay bhai. Thank you for introducing
So,
Sanjay bhai. And Sanjay bhai is not only my college senior, but Sanjay bhai officiated me and my wife's wedding at the local Hindu
That's correct.
temple. He was the
That's correct.
priest for our wedding. So
That's correct.
Sanjay,
Yeah.
you know what you see here, my little girl Maya
Yeah.
Durga Chakravarti,
Yeah, I
Sanjay bhai
know.
has a direct role in making it happen. so so this is Sanjay bhai. I've known him for the last 10 years,
If
more
we,
than 10 years now. And I think, you know, I don't have serious
there
questions
was
for
some,
him. My question,
yeah,
since he's our guest and we ask questions to our guests, we ask questions to ourselves as well. So I would start off with the question, asking Sanjay
yeah.
bhai that as a leader in the Hindu community, and as one of the most experienced persons in America on within the Hindu community, what is his experience with the Hindu youth in this country? Sanjay bhai.
Okay, so you can hear me, right? Very
Yeah,
Yes,
clearly.
yes.
very clear.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, so very, Utsav, I think you said that when we were talking about, I think I lost
Uh,
my screen once again.
yeah.
There was some, okay, so few minutes ago, you said a word that you have to educate yourself, right? I'm picking your word from the same college, right? As you said. So the answer is that you have to educate yourself by yourself. Don't rely on ki koi guru, some guru will come or some books will. No, these are all help. You have to educate yourself by yourself, and then only Maya is going to see that who's the Hindu. So my answer is always that I work with kids. I work across the country. I go to interfaith forums, and you won't believe in some of the interfaith forums they told me, including Boy Scouts and a mosque. They said they look forward whenever we invite you. If you're a speaker, there are some we have extra attendees, especially youth. And I wonder, like when I go to non-Hindu forums, why that youth in this mosque or Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, they look forward because what they're looking. I asked a couple of them, the youth, what is that you look forward? And they said that we look forward the messages you deliver by yourself. See the body language. So it's this message for our Hindu kids also. I mean, I always say that for even parents, that we have to educate ourselves by ourselves. Don't look for too much help. Hindu Launch is there to give you the message. You have to go home, and not just Utsav and Ajay Shah's research is going to help you. You have to do your own research. And so that's what I always believe that.
So Sanjay
Hope
bhai,
hope
the
it makes
extension of
some
this
sense
similar,
there.
correct, it's the extension of the same question, but more on the application side. There are more than 200 almost 300 temples across America who are connected to HMEC and Hindu Mandir Executive Conference that VHPA is runs and is owns as a unifying group. What would be your message to the leaders of these temple communities and organizations to engage people, especially younger Americans who are born in this country, who are Hindus, as well as to Americans who come from non-ethnic Indian heritage, who are Hindus? How
That's
how
correct.
do
Yeah.
you bring them together and make them involved with HMEC?
See, one of the things which we have, our focus when we started HMEC was not to touch the rituals or the practice. We never, from the day one, we said that we are not going to intervene into that. Our goal is to make temples or the religious places as a knowledge center, as a center of activities. And I always give, when I talk in temple also, that take puja is fine, rituals are fine, but take Ram and Krishna as example. All their life, they didn't sit at home and do things. They were in the community. They help people through their characters. So that's what temple should do. Temple should produce more and more Ram and Krishna, not just people who are doing puja and home and go and do the same puja in temple. No. So that's what our message to the temple, and it is people are getting that. But we can do it collectively. We just don't need one Ram and one Krishna. That is not the time. We need many Ram and many Krishna. So that's what temples need to do, that to prepare young people to stand for the dharma, stand for the truth, not just creating the warriors from the right side. That's our goal.
Sanjay bhai, if do you have other questions? Otherwise, I
I
have
know.
one.
I think I had these two questions, and Sanjay
I'll ask
Bhai is I
you.
have personally spoken to Sanjay Bhai before over the last 10 years. I can attest that everything he said, I have experienced the influence of that in my personal life. Everybody goes through ups and downs in their lives, and I have
Yes.
always called up Sanjay Bhai and asked for advice, and many times, and he gives he what the answer he gave here is what comes from him, and it is always very helpful.
So Sanjay bhai, I have one question, and I'm going to ask Abhayaji the same question. So Abhayaji, it won't be a surprise to you, but we'll definitely get a different perspective from Abhayaji as well, or maybe the same one. So before I do that, let me just so Sanjay bhai, we have about 3 minutes with you left, but
Yeah.
Abhayaji has joined, so let me just introduce Abhayaji. So Dr. Abhaya Asthana is the president of World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA. He's a distinguished scientist, and now at Nokia Bell Labs. But amazing contributions to the field of wireless communications and cell phone technology that we all use today. But more than that, I mean, he has this ability to articulate the Hindu activities and Hindu imperatives in America in a very in a very nice way and very organized and systematic way. And just a few weeks ago, when we had a VHPA cyber satsang, and Abhayaji talked about his journey in VHPA, it was really awe-inspiring in many ways as to how, how he first attended a camp and he learned about, VHPA and how VHP worked as a family and all that. So I just wanted to kind of, without going into a formal long introduction, I just want to say that Abhayaji has been with VHPA for many decades, and I think it's always inspiring to hear from him. Sanjay bhai, my question for you is, so you've been teaching at Bal Vihars, you've been teaching at the camps, and so has Abhayaji, right? How do you transition these youths who are coming to Bal Vihar, who are coming to the camps, who went to HSC? How do you transition them from the current role, from that to becoming the advocates in some ways for the Hindu community in America? And linking back to, I don't know if you saw the first part of our show, how do we ensure that they don't become the next featured speaker at Indian America and Indian American Muslim Council events, which are bashing Hindus?
I think you're breaking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Utsudha, can you hear
Now
me?
now I can hear you.
So you're on mute. Sorry.
I can hear you, Ajay bhai. I think Sanjay bhai, there might be a signal interference around you. When we were speaking, there was a time when you had broken up a little bit
Yeah.
too. I
So
can hear you, Ajay bhai.
Maybe.
I'll repeat the question, Sanjay bhai. So Sanjay bhai, what I was asking was,
Okay.
I'll repeat this. So you have taught at Bal Vihars. You've attended many of the youth camps. You have taught at the youth camps. I know that we
Yeah.
invited you to Hindustan's councils meetings. So you have seen these youth. You have trained them. You have seen them grow. What is it that we as World Hindu Council of America should be doing so that they don't become the next featured speakers at the Indian American Muslim Council event bashing Hindus in America? So how do what do we need to do? What more do we need to do so that Hindu kids growing up in America don't end up advocating against Hindus? I think we lost Sanjay bhai.
Ajay bhai, let me do one thing. I'll join the Zoom link. Meantime, Abhaya
Yeah.
can answer,
Yeah,
talk,
maybe
and I'll
Abhaya
join
can
the other
answer
link.
the question.
Quickly.
Abhaya, I
Right?
hope you got the question. So
Yeah. So
welcome to Hindu
in the
Lounge.
meantime, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Abhaya, welcome to Hindu Lounge. You're the first two guests on the Hindu Lounge, and we have never had guests before. We had people who dialed in. We had people who were part of the panels, but we've never had a formal guest. And so you and Sanjay bhai are our first two guests, and we are starting out with a really challenging questions for you. So welcome, namaste, and please tell us what you think about the question I just asked.
Yeah. Utsav and Ajay, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. And I want to convey my best wishes to Hindu Lounge and the team, and actually the entire ecosystem of Hindu Pact. It is a very exciting and informative forum that both of you have started for the Hindus. And I would say to boldly share their views and discuss issues that actually affect them. So now going back to your question. So yes, both Sanjay and I, we've been teaching at the Bal Viharas for a very long time. And we've seen children who started with us when they were like 2-3 years old, and now they are in colleges and actually in management positions in big corporations. So it's very exciting. Now the tough question that you've asked: what do we do to ensure that these children at the early age, right, when they are in Bal Vihars, what is it that we can do to ensure that they will not become useful idiots, to use Utsav's terminology later on? It's a challenge, and let me tell you why. Okay, so the children during their formative years, right? Many factors contribute to that. So they come to the Bal Vihar once a week. So yes, we give them some training. We share some information with them. We try to teach them and all of that. But the bigger part that molds and shapes them is really happening at home, right? So the parents have a tremendous influence on what's going on in those formative years, and what kind of real values they pick up, right? And how their personality gets shaped. So the thing that we can do in the Bal Vihar is to make them aware and to teach them some of these very critical things, to bring to them the threats and all of those things, to bring to them the history of what we have gone through and so on, within the short time duration that we get at the Balviars. But but see, that has to get reinforced positively in the same direction when they are at home with the parents, right? And also when these children go to the colleges, see, that opens up a whole new thing, right? Pandora's box, because we when they leave the Bal Vihar, we teach them the Gita, we teach them all of those things, right? They understand that fully well. When they get to the college, all of a sudden they become South Asians. And when they become South Asians, then the whole thing actually changes, right? And I see that the change happens only temporarily for most of them. For some of them, it becomes a permanent change, and that's where the useful idiots come out from. But for most of them, they will, because of the peer pressure, because of the need to mingle and so on, and because of uh, not being able to stand up properly. And Balvihar only has a small a role to play in there. It's the parents, it's their personality. And a lot of it has to do with their own innate nature, their own innate personality, quote unquote, prarabdha, right?
Yeah.
So their mix of sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, right? That contributes to their personality. So that actually sometimes, okay, overpowers anything that we do. But in most kids, most children, okay, they actually recover from this phase of drift that they experience at the college and graduate school and so on. So when they settle back, when they have their own families and their own children, we have seen so many of these children that went through the Balvihar coming back, because that is when
that's really heartening to know. It actually gives us a lot of confidence that this is not that only a small fraction we have to worry about. Sanjay bhai, you were going to I hope your connection is better now.
Yeah, right.
Please go ahead. The same question. So did you get the question, or should I repeat the question?
I know what your question is, like how do we reconnect them, or how do we
not reconnect them. My question was that the kids who go through, you've taught at the Balvihar, at the camps, at Hindu Student Council meetings, you've dealt with kids, you've taught them. So what is it that we need to do more so that these kids don't become like Arunima Bhargava and become Hindu, basically they join forces with people who hate Hindus. So how do we stop them from becoming like Arunima Bhargava? That is the question.
That's right. Sorry for the audio interruption earlier.
No problem.
Yeah. So Abhayji has answered. So I want to just add something he has already answered, that because there is a gap always, and there is a prarabdha content. So I'll pick up from there, the prarabdha. So our shastra, and that's the problem we miss, right? When we think the Bal Vihar is enough. Bal Vihar is not enough. We think the youth camp is enough. The parents think, oh, it's a place where if the kids go, they'll be okay. No, so we parents, as elders, we need to understand that is just a stepping stone. And I'll pick up it's a philosophical maybe, but very right. Abhayji said, I'll pick prarabdha. In our Shastra, they said that some of the things in prarabdha can be changed by the karma in this birth also. And that's what this is a very high level I'm saying, but that's what we miss. We had to tell our kids that, and we have to tell ourselves, no, we have to do some extra work in this birth. And that's what we talked about, the temples, so mandirs, and that's what VHPA is trying to do. That we need to, and because temple is a place where everybody goes, whether they don't participate in Hindu activities, but yeah, temple is a place. So temples, once we become education centers, and in fact VHPA is trying, once we have our Hindu centers, we make them as education centers, and that's where we tell them it's not just in the books. So I think there is a process we have to follow, which VHPA is trying, and we have to constantly do that. And I'm sure, as Abhiji said, they'll stand up at some time. There is always a gap, but it is all about parents. It is all about the elders. It is not about just kids. So sometimes we think the problem with kids is not with just with it is with the elders, and it is with some of the educators also, the people who. So I think we have a minute 30
Yeah,
seconds.
so I know you have to leave, Sanjay bhai. We'll continue with Abhaya for a couple of more questions that we have for
Yeah.
him. But
I
thank you
just
very
want, I
much for
just want
joining.
to
Namaste.
add to what Sanjay
Oh, yeah, please,
said. He
please.
brought up a good point, right? See, the mandirs have to play an important role in there.
Yeah.
And also Hindu organizations on the campus. So I know, I mean, Ajay, Utsav, I mean, you were like the early, founders of Hindu Student Council. So that organization, similar organizations, see, if they expand and if they strengthen, then you'll have more of like a peer kind of a relationship with these students, right? And they will then have the ability to stand up, right? Only when they get isolated, right, and they get sucked into some of the other things, these kind of things happen. So Hindu Student Council and similar organizations on campus also have an important role to play.
Thank you. Sanjay bhai, I know that you have to leave, so thank you. Namaste for joining us. We'll continue with Abhaya for a couple of more questions.
Right. So I'll stop with a small 30-second story.
Please, go ahead. I'm so happy that you're saying that.
Yeah. So in the camp, like I have been going to Indianapolis camp for 21 years, right? So one of the parents came to me 2 years ago. He said, Sanjay bhai, your teachings are working. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, we were driving to Niagara Falls. We had relatives from India, and we were driving. Our camera was not working. So there was some problem in the camera. So they said, okay, we'll stop by at the Walmart and buy a battery. And when we return from Niagara Falls, we'll return it. Typically, sometimes people think if it is not used.
The light was better.
So they said, like the daughter sitting, middle schooler sitting in the back, he said, what about the Satya Sanjay uncle told in the camp? And they said, wow, look at that. See, so that's where the teaching goes. So it is not just by kids, it is parents and kids together we have to learn. And I'm sure Hindu thoughts, Hindu teachings, Hindu mind is so strong that there will be forces. We have to keep fighting. Like Bhagwan tells Arjun, Uttishth Kaunte Yuddhaya Krat Nishchaya. We have to keep doing that. And at the end, Jai to Shree and Dharma, Niti. That's what Bhagavad Gita ends with.
That is so.
Thank you very much for doing. I think this education is very important.
I think we will be inviting you more and more because this was really a fun conversation.
Yeah.
So
okay. Thank
both you and Abhaya have to come back many times.
Okay, and the pranam to Maya Durga.
No, sir, Sanjay ji. So
thank you, Sanjay ji.
Thank you. Abhaya, I have a next question for you, and this is probably the last question because I know you also have.
Yeah, I have to also go. So.
Yeah, you have to also go. So this is a question that is a little bit broader, right? You've been with VHPA for a long time, and this is our 50th anniversary. So if you look back and you say that I know that you were not part of VHPA 50 years ago, but you know the history of VHPA pretty well, and you know the goals with which it was founded. Do you think that VHPA has achieved what it started out to achieve in last 50 years?
So that's a good question. So has the VHPA achieved what it started off with? I would say very much so.
So Abhaya, let me ask a little bit more before you go into details. On a scale of 1 to 4, 4 means VHPA has achieved everything, and 1 where it has achieved nothing, and no fractions. What is the rating that you would give?
Okay, I'll definitely give it a 3. Okay, I can't give it 4, but 3 for sure.
Okay.
If you allowed me fractions, maybe 3.5. Okay.
But so I learned from a person who wrote a book on surveys to give even number of questions and not allowed fractions, so that way people are forced to make a choice. So okay, now please explain.
So when I want to look at VHPA in the context of the larger Hindu history, right? So, and I mean, forget about Bharat. We came to America, right? When we started in the 60s. I mean, when people like Mahesh Bhai, Mehta, and all these guys came, right? Like mid 60s, there were a handful, maybe less than 100,000 Hindus in the whole country, right? Scattered all over, probably even less. So imagine, okay, when you're starting at that point and having the vision to set up these things and start such programs with only one inspiration, right? That comes from our rishi saying, no, we need to do this, right? I mean, this land, in this land, right? We need to sustain Hindu dharma, right? For our sake and also for wherever we go, wherever Hindus have gone, right? They've always thought of good for the land where they settle down, right? So for the sake of this land as well, bring our values and everything to this land. And through our example, be able to influence and affect this thing. So in that sense, when they started with these small steps in the beginning, starting Bal Vihar, starting youth camps, starting conferences, getting people together, connecting the few Hindu Americans that were there in this country. Now look at what has happened because of the efforts of Vish Hindu Parishad of America, right? So many movements, right? Not only within VHP of America, but outside VHP of America started. And so with Hindu Student Council, with Hindu University, with AHAD, with all of, I mean, the HinduLounge itself is rooted in concepts that you guys started with, right? Like AHAD, like HinduNet. That was the first internet forum that was provided by the Hindus in this country. So VHP of America has been an incubator for many of these ideas, and they've flourished. So a lot of the Hindu movement that we see around us today has its roots in Vish Hindu Parishad of America, and the people who started there and then, I mean, went out and started more organizations like that. So that is how I would, that's why I'm saying that Vish Hindu Parishad of America has given the sanskars, planted the seeds, and it's only been 50 years, okay? So in the long history, okay, that we've lived and many hundreds of years, okay, looking forward, I think we've achieved a lot. We've planted the seeds, we've given the sanskars, and we just hope this banyan tree is going to grow, okay?
Nobody could put it in better words than you, Abhayaji. So thank you. Abhayaji, every week we do we recognize one Hindu Seva Act or Hindu Seva organization. And so this week we are designating Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, World Hindu Council of America, as a Seva Act or the Seva organization of the week. And we are fortunate that you are here. And so maybe you want to tell us for a minute or so before we end the show about the Seva activities of Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, World Hindu Council of America, so that we can and why should people be actively participating in our Seva activities?
So very briefly, okay, the core of Hindu dharma is sacrifice, is tyag, it's tapasya, right? And what from that comes the thought of living our lives. Everybody can live their life for themselves, right? But what our rishis have taught us is when you begin to live your life for others, when you sacrifice for others, when you make others happy, okay, only then your life becomes meaningful. It goes back to that same thing, right? All of us are interconnected. So when you begin to feel for the other person, then you add value to your existence. So that's the root of the Seva program, right? So now the Seva programs in Vish Hindu Parishad of America, they fall in three categories, right? One is we need to help communities outside of America, right? Going back to India. So we owe, we have some debts, Rishi debts, right? Rishi Deva, right? So we owe those debts we have to get rid of. And that's where like support a child program or Ekal Vidyalaya program that's now spun off as a big organization that got started in Vishwa Parishad of America to help the needy. The other aspect is, and which is more important for us going forward, is Seva in America right here. Right? Our children growing up in this country, they want to see us helping the folks right here in America. Right? And there is so much of Seva to do in America because of so many reasons, right? Whether it be with the elders, whether it be in the inner cities, whether it be with Native Americans, whether it may be with Katrina and such disasters in this country, or just recently, COVID, right? So many different ways we were able to help the community right here in America. So Seva in America is a very important aspect, right? And the third aspect is, of course, disasters, right? And I would say COVID was one of those disasters, or any hurricane that comes, or an earthquake that hits, and so on. So all those three aspects of it, right? We need to do. But I would again emphasize Seva in America is where our future, because our work, our Karyakshetra is right here in America.
Thank you very much, Abhayaji. That was, I think that was, I think that gives people an overview of what World Hindu Council of America, VHPA, does in terms of Seva. And Seva is really a critical component of our activities. And I think it is, we don't publicize it as much as we should, because we follow the Hindu Dharma, where the precept is that you do Seva without really bragging about Seva. And that's why I think, but every once in a while, I think it's we should say this, because, and say more of it, because it is inspiration to other people to contribute to the society. And I think if we were to be as bragging as some of the other organizations out there are, we would have, there would be a lot more, it would be a lot more known, all these sacrifices that people who participate in the Seva activities do. So I think, I think it's a great contribution over the last 50 years. And I know that it's going to grow leaps and bounds in the next 50 years. So thank you, Abhayaji. Did you have any final words before we bring this to a closure?
No. I see Maya Durga there smiling. You and all children like that are the future. And as long as she's smiling, we are doing good.
Yeah, she, as I don't know if you heard that, but she was up till 1 o'clock in the morning preparing for the show. So she woke up just to prepare, and then she went, so she was not happy that we didn't invite her to the Zoom call in the middle of the night. So, and now she's doing namaste.
I think her parents are giving her training.
And you can see that she's doing namaste to you.
She's doing namaste. Maya, namaste.
She does namaste a lot.
She does namaste a lot.
So I have to run. Ajay and Utsav, thank you so much for having me. And
yeah, thank you and namaste. Namaste. Bye. So with that, we bring a closure to HinduLounge episode number 30. So there, any final words before I close this out?
This was fantastic. I mean, it was very good to hear Sanjay Bhai and Abhayaji. And, even though we interact with them at our personal level a lot, but it is important that people out there hear about the leaders in the community who have spent their lives working for the community. And, we can always see what's going wrong, and we can talk about what's going wrong, which we do a lot. But there is somebody who needs to show and share the successes that people like Sanjay Bhai and Abhayaji have brought to the community.
Yeah, I cannot agree with you more. Utsara, with that, I want to once again remind people that this is HinduLounge. HinduLounge is a weekly show on American Hindu issues brought to you by HinduPact. HinduPact is an initiative of World Hindu Council of America. We come live every Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern. Now that is 8 o'clock Pacific. And we are live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on our channels. And we always welcome your participation. So please Tune in next week. We'll have another exciting episode, another exciting set of topics that all the Hindus would really be glad to participate and talk about. And as always, it's Utsav Chakravarti, Executive Director for Hindu Pact. With Ajay Shah, I am the Executive Vice President of World Hindu Council of America. And always our co-host, Maya Durga Chakravarti, saying goodbye and namaste.
Maya just did namaste, and
All right.
everybody have a nice week.
Nice week. All right, Utsada. See you next week. Bye.